Alright, hello and welcome back to another Diplo Strats video. Today, I am back with Ezio for the first time in quite a long time. Hey Ezio.
Hello, hello.
Hey. Yeah, today we're going to be commentating a game from a tournament called BlitzCon, and as the name would suggest, BlitzCon was a Blitz Diplomacy Tournament, the format where it's 5 minutes per phase, you can negotiate with your opponents via text, and it goes up to 1908 and it's scored by summer squares, so it's to do with the most supply, having the most supply centers at the end of 1908. The important thing about this tournament is it's the first press tournament in diplomacy history to have been won by an AI. And you may have seen that if you've looked on the power rankings on the right hand side. CICERO is playing England in this game. CICERO is Meta AI's press diplomacy bot, and it won this tournament. So, slight spoilers alert for this game. This is one of Cicero's best performing games in said tournament, and we're going to be having a look at what it did during the game. We're not going to be able to see the press, that's not available. There is some press to do with this game that's been released. If you look in the Cicero GitHub, one of the games, I'll leave a link to it in the description. I think Germany and Austria consented for their press to be released, but overall the press isn't shown. We're just going to be commentating on the map. If you want to see a game with Cicero's press, check out the last video. Anyway, I think that's enough of a preamble. Ezio, what do you think of this 1901?
I think it's a very standard normal 1901. In fact, it's a little odd in how normal it is, because absolutely nothing is weird.
Yes, that would be my opinion too. I think every single opening here is the most common opening for said country.
Yeah, I haven't looked up the statistics for all of them. And like France is the one that I think might be a little odd on that, but that's because every opening for France is viable. But I do think everybody else is the most common, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this French opening, I think it's it's definitely the most common in Gunboat, right? Because forcing Burgundy
Yes.
is just very powerful. Uh, yeah, I guess in press games I would probably see Marseille to Spain more often just to make sure you can take those two. Um, that you have a chance to take those two if Italy goes to Piedmont, I think is the important thing there. But, like, this opening is very, very popular as well. Uh,
Yeah.
and the other thing we could talk about is Liverpool to Edinburgh, but I feel like we talk about that at the beginning of every single one of these commentaries. So,
I do think we talk about that at the beginning of every single commentary. So instead, I propose you can watch, I don't know, 10 other videos about tournament finals and you can see us talk about it.
yeah. Uh,
So I think let's just go to the fall because that's when we can get a chance to see more stuff.
yeah, sounds good to me. Alright, so fall 1901 here. And we suddenly get a little bit more interesting in a fair few places. Where do you want to look at first?
So I propose let's leave Cicero to the end, despite
Yep.
being what I immediately looked at. And so I'd say look at the South.
Yeah. I mean, the big thing in the south is probably Italy's moves, yes?
Yeah, Italy was the most potentially unexpected, but it looks like it's lining up for standard Lepanto type deal nowadays.
Yeah. The, it's a bit of an interesting one, right? Because sometimes you do see this taking of Trieste be agreed between Austria and Italy, and in that case, usually, well, I would expect Ionian to go to Aegean in the same turn. That's just like part of the exchange. You then take Trieste to make sure you get the build without having to take Tunis. But in this case, it feels a bit greedy. You're just taking two, right? It could still be arranged as possible. Austria is fine with this, but it could also just be a stab into Trieste and saying, "Hey, I can grab this, and you've left it undefended. I might as well."
Yeah, so it's incredibly common for them to do this. I've seen a number of experienced Austrias use this as a gambit where they say, I'll give you Trieste if and only if you agree to build two fleets. And this is a particular gambit that I've fallen for a couple times is Italy because it seems like a reasonable deal. But I believe the appropriate response as Italy is to take Trieste and then build an army. Um, I think the two fleets leaves you too vulnerable, and you're not going to get another build in too long. It antagonizes France because that fleet in Rome is going to do bad things. And so what I'm saying is, if we see two fleets, I expect Italy's going to have a bad game, but I will believe it's arranged. If we see an army in Venice, it might be arranged, and then Italy did a little bit of a. I mean, I was going to say stab, but I think stab is too strong a word for that level of annoyance. But it might have still been arranged. Um,
Interesting.
I don't think Italy would ever actually stab Austria while convoying to Tunis is what I'm feeling.
Yeah, the Tunis convoy is a bit of a weird one because usually, like, it can absolutely set up for a stab on Austria, specifically because in the spring of the next year, convoying from Tunis to Albania is a really strong way of stabbing, especially if you can move into Trieste at the same time. But
Yeah,
yeah,
well,
you don't do it at the same time as moving into Trieste because then you give
exactly.
away your intention.
Because then you can't get into Albania. But again, we'll see. I think Italy's very interesting. Um, and then with um with the Austria and Turkey, you see this little tap at Greece, and I mean sometimes this is arranged. Um, Sometimes it's not, but I don't think it particularly. I don't think it says particularly much.
Yeah, the thing with this Turkish unit is, I mean, if you look at the board state, anywhere it goes is completely useless here. It's of course always the problem with Turkey. You get into Bulgaria, and if your opponents aren't actively trying to help you against each other, then you don't get anywhere in the first year. Uh, but Turkey decided to take a shot at Greece. It's possible that the Italian had promised them support into there or something, but more likely it's just they had to choose somewhere to move to, and they were just like, okay, let's take a look at that one and see if we can make anything happen. Um, but yeah, I doubt they were expecting to get into Greece with this move.
All right. So then we should look, I think, at German and France bouncing in Munich.
Yep. That's a bit of an interesting one. Belgium's left completely open in 1901, which isn't all that uncommon, but it's a bit uncommon for no one to go for it, like, at all. It's usually people bouncing each other out of there. Um, Germany successfully predicting that the Frenchmen would attack them is really important for them here. Uh, you do not want to France in Munich. It,
Yeah,
it's kind of
yeah. Not
interesting.
a free build France in '02, certainly.
If Germany had taken Belgium here, and they do still get two builds, so that French army in Munich isn't the worst thing in the world. You can just build double army and kick it back out again. The problem is that then you're forced to build double army, and that's painful as Germany. It's not as painful as it is for some other powers, but having two fleets is kind of essential long term.
Yeah. Also, I mean, just the tactics. Once France has that army in Munich retreat, France will usually have that army retreat into Silesia
Yeah,
because usually, right, France will have gotten two builds, so they or three builds, excuse me. So they would have gotten their fleet in Brest, and they could build Army Paris, Army Marseille to stack up Picardy and Burgundy. And normally the line is hard for France to break going east because of just how the spots line up. But once you're in Silesia, you've got pressure on Berlin, so Germany has to commit extra troops over there, and you have extra pressure on Munich because you have one unit you never have. And so losing Munich in '01 is really, really hard for Germany to survive.
yeah, that's definitely fair. I feel like as France, I really dislike having the units in Cilicia because it feels like Germany will just station armies in Berlin and Munich for as long as possible, and you just get stonewalled. But it is slightly better than if you are just stuck on the other side of the line, right? it's like the main disadvantage to doing something like this, even if you do get into Munich, is that you're then locked into attacking Germany, unless you can negotiate your way out, but it's very difficult to negotiate your way out if you've just taken Munich off the German. So having that unit in Silesia makes you quite weak to the English player as well, just because, you've got a unit stuck on the wrong side of the lines if you end up on the defensive. But yeah, I am quite a defensive power by player even, by nature, so that's just me.
Yeah, it's all good. But now we get to talk about the North, and we get to talk about the North Sea going into Skagerrak.
Yes. Oh boy, oh
And
boy.
that's fun.
It really is. I do quite often see like instant attacks on Russia, in that if England has opened in this way, they can then convoy over to Norway using North Sea and move into the Barents, right? That's the one of these I see relatively often. I have barely ever seen this opening, going into Skagerrak, leaving North Sea completely open while the German has a fleet adjacent to North Sea. I think that's the big thing that would off-put most human players here, right?
Oh, come on. No Germany is ever going into the North Sea from Denmark.
Well, yeah, okay, that's probably true. But it still feels bad to leave it open, right?
Yeah, right? The North Sea is an important territory. Don't vacate it. I don't know. I think this is a great time to do it. I
Uh,
love it.
I mean, it's certainly quite strong moving against Scandinavia in this way. You are also declaring your intention. I am 100% going to Sweden. There is nothing you will do to stop me getting this.
So it's a little tough, though, because Russia's getting two builds here,
Yes.
right? And as a result, this capture of Sweden, if Russia chooses to commit units north, Russia can, right? Russia could build Army St. Pete and Army Moscow, and then just move an army into Finland, move an army into St. Pete, and you're going to be in a slugfest for a long time trying to get these centers.
Yes, that's absolutely true. The double build here is quite painful for England. I'm wondering whether Cicero was expecting Germany to bounce Russia out of Sweden. This makes a lot more sense if they have, but I guess we'll see what the Russian does to muster the defense up in the north. Of course, the fact that Germany lets Russia into Sweden here is actually really bad news for England on two fronts, because it also means there's a real possibility that Germany and Russia will work together here. Although this position might actually just be better against Germany and Russia working together than if you'd stayed in the North Sea.
Absolutely, I do agree with that because Skagerrak is right when it's the German, um, when Germany, England, and Russia are fighting early. It's almost always about these centers, and Skagerrak is the only one that borders all three.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely true. It's like one of these really counterintuitive things that once you examine it, it looks quite straightforward. Hey, being in Skagerrak is a good thing. But abandoning North Sea in fall 1901 just feels bad, I think, for a human player.
Yeah,
But yeah, it
I'm
works.
excited. I want to see how this goes.
Alright, shall we go ahead to the winter then?
Yeah,
Alright, builds 1901. Here we go. Fleet Kiel is an important thing. Fleet Edinburgh from the English player. We've got Fleet St. Petersburg North Coast from the Russian, along with Army Moscow. A lot of the rest of these are as expected. I think the interesting ones, Italy does build two fleets as a result of taking Trieste, so that seems to have been arranged. And France builds two armies. Thoughts?
so France building two armies. I want to kill him. I want to kill him. Like I don't know who this France player is. This a finals or was this just a
No.
regular?
So this tournament was open to all players, so there was quite a big variance in the skill levels. In this specific game, the player for Austria, the player for Austria and the player for Russia are both very good. They've both been in the DBNI before, which is a very big invitational, well, a very important invitational tournament. The player for Italy is also a very experienced player. They've been in a Nexus final. Germany, France, and Turkey, I think both. This was... I don't know if this was their first tournament, but I don't recognize the names from beforehand. So, yeah. This is an open to all tournament, so we won't expect like perfect play throughout. Just as a heads up.
Yeah. So on the topic of not expecting perfect play, this might have been the worst ever army build, two army build from France I've ever seen. So, um, England, by making this move into Skagerrak, looks like they're going to be at war with Germany and Russia already, meaning they cannot afford to be at war with you. So you have two options here. Either you build a fleet, and then you can just attack England, and then join the sea line and everybody's happy. Or you build a fleet, and then you move it into the English Channel, and then you attack Germany with it. And then you're happy because you have a fleet in the English Channel, and you get to attack Germany. England can't do anything about it because you're going to die. So it's just better. It's just... and furthermore, you have enough armies already because, look, Paris and, like, you're going to be able to hold the line. You don't need more stuff. Like,
Yeah, I think it's kind of doubly painful because of where the army build is, right? Like, okay, so most of
Yes.
the double army builds that you see are Paris Marseille for good reason, because Brest as an army can't really do anything, right? It can support into Picardy, but you don't need support into Picardy most of the time. Yeah, so this is a bit of a painful one to see. I do wonder if they had an... Okay, so one important thing to know about Blitz that I haven't mentioned in this video, you cannot negotiate during the retreats or build phases. So it's possible that before the retreat or build phases, they made an agreement with England not to build Fleet Brest. They made an agreement with Italy not to build in Marseille or something like that. And they just went, what can I build now without breaking an agreement? And so they had to go Army Paris, Army Brest. But in this circumstance, if you do want to keep to that agreement, it's probably actually better just to waive the Brest build instead of building an army here. Just because that wouldn't lock you into this situation where you've got 4 armies and only 1 fleet. That's my opinion on it anyway.
Yeah. I mean, okay, that's great. So France, never do this ever again. It's illegal. Should be against the rules. Okay. So now, yeah, Italy with 2 fleets. I mean, yeah. I don't know. What's Fleet Rome gonna do? What's gonna move to Tyrrhenian Sea? And then is it just gonna sit in the Congo line trying to go east, or is it gonna just mess with France in the west? I don't know. Unclear. Let's find out.
Yeah, let's move ahead to the spring of 1902 then. And the answer is it's going to go to Tyrrhenian Sea, which means it's not committed yet. But the fact that Italy is moving into Aegean Sea would suggest it's going to go against Turkey. Yeah. So the Russian moves here are kind of weird to me. The supporting Romania up to Galicia and moving the fleet into Romania behind it is very strange for an attack on Austria. It feels like it should be a moveset that's an attack on Austria because you're going into Galicia, which is presumably there's been a bounce arranged there, but you've put a fleet into Romania, so you can't really follow that up, right?
Yeah, fleets in Romania are not good at attacking Budapest or Serbia, which are usually important Austrian centers to capture.
Yes. Yeah. I mean that's kind of the important thing in the dynamic in the east here. It looks like it's Russia Turkey versus Austria Italy, but it also looks like Austria was trying to get Russia on side with this too, because they made this kind of futile move of Serbia to Bulgaria, and they threw a support hold on Romania. So all of that kind of indicates they were expecting Romania's support Serbia to Bulgaria, which would have kicked Turkey out. But Russia does the opposite. They go into Galicia with it instead.
I mean, like, yeah. I'm also interested in what's going on in the north, where we can see that in fact Russia, Germany seem pretty clearly allied, and that's just going to be it. It's going to be EF versus GR.
Yeah, that definitely seems to be the case here. So this is a bit of a mess of sport arrows in Scandinavia, but what's happening here is Denmark is support holding Sweden, which is why the English attack was deflected. Sweden is supporting Denmark into Skagerrak, so Germany didn't take that support, but there was the potential for them to force Skagerrak here. Germany correct to not take that support, right? Because otherwise Sweden would have been knocked out. And
Yeah,
we see here I don't know if it's an issue or a good thing with the St. Petersburg North Coast Fleet. It can block the move to Barents, which it's done, but the fact that it's a fleet and it can only go to Barents or Norway means that this army in Moscow is never really going to get anywhere trying to go up here, because England is going to block this every single time.
yeah, exactly. And this is why I was initially talking about the army build in St. Pete, because it would be able to move into Finland, which is just a little cleaner. Or at least threaten to move into Finland. Like, obviously, is it going to go into Finland or is it going to go into Norway or stuff? And there's all these guessing games, but St. Pete, the fleet in the north coast isn't going to enable Moscow to get in here. And so, tactically, Sweden can be forced next turn because North Sea now can cut Denmark and Norway can. Oh, no, never mind. I'm sorry. Because it's the same. So, yeah, I was not looking at it close enough. So, what I was going to suggest was that North Sea cuts Denmark, Norway supports Skagerrak into Sweden, like happened here. But what happens then is that St. Petersburg North Coast in that situation has to cut Norway.
Yeah.
Um, it's just that means that it can't bounce Barents Sea, and so England's position is going to improve. And it's
Yes.
like,
There is actually a way that Russia and Germany could come out on top against that order set. It would specifically be if St. Petersburg supported Sweden to Norway and Denmark went to Sweden to bounce the English thing out, but that would require some degree of prescience, right? You would need to guess that that was the exact order set you were countering, because it leaves Denmark very vulnerable, and it also even leaves Sweden a bit vulnerable against
yeah. And if
other order
Norwegian Sea
sets.
chooses to support hold Norway in that situation, you kind of get blown out of the water.
Yes, exactly.
Um,
One of these things with diplomacy, you can always point out a great order says against what your opponents has, actually did, but that's with hindsight, and like trying to figure that out in advance requires you to know what your opponents are doing, which is kind of difficult. um, yeah, so one interesting thing about this army build in St. Petersburg that could have been, right? It At first glance, it seems to be the same kind of situation, because St. Petersburg going to Finland, that can get blocked just as easily as St. Petersburg going to Barents, because Norway is an army, so Norway can go to Finland as well to block it. The important thing is, if it's an army here, if you get Norway to try and block that move to Finland, England can't be doing anything against Sweden at the same time as that. Whereas if it's this fleet in St. Petersburg North Coast, you can see Norwegian is the one blocking it, which leaves Norway and Skagerrak completely free to go after Sweden. So yeah, that's some of the nuance of that decision up here. I think that kind of covers what's going on here. We've got this Germany, Russia against England, France in the north. We've got Austria, Italy versus Russia, Turkey in the south. I'm interested to hear your opinion on which alliance is stronger in each case.
which alliances specifically are you talking about?
Okay, so if we go Germany, Russia versus England, France,
Okay.
which of those would you give the upper hand in this scenario?
Okay. Yeah, and that was the thing I was trying to get at because in this specific situation, with France having only one fleet, um, I my instinct is to lean much more towards Germany, Russia, because there's an equal fleet count, and France isn't going to make any headway into into Germany on the mainland. England's got to care about the North Sea. I think this is a really good alliance for Germany, Russia. Normally, like just France is not going to be doing very much for a long time.
Yeah, that is fair. It does seem like it could be. Like, this is maybe one of the situations where I might have jumped the gun on criticizing the French builds a little bit, because if England is locked into this alliance in this way, you can probably take the the English mainland with just one fleet and some very nice convoys through English Channel if you decide to send your unit to English Channel and maybe get English agreement to do that. But yeah, certainly that would only benefit France. That obviously doesn't benefit England. So Germany, Russia has the upper hand alliance wise. In the south, who would you give the advantage to? Austria, Italy, or Russia, Turkey?
Nobody.
Nobody?
These wars never go well. I think this is a great war. It started off fantastically for Italy, Austria, but like we're just not even with this great start, I don't expect them to get in. Like, okay, if you were to remove the entire rest of the board, Austria, Italy, I believe, will be able to beat um, Turkey, Russia. I just expect it to be so slow that they're not going to get anywhere with it.
I think that's a very fair opinion. That tends to be the case with these Russia, Turkey versus Italy, Austria wars. Especially like with the Russian fleet going to Romania, even if Russia, Turkey had the advantage, they couldn't really push it, right? They're kind of stuck as well. This is likely going to grind out one way or the other until someone from the West intervenes. That'll be the thing to watch out for. What Western power is going to intervene first? But yeah, that seems to be more or less everything for this phase. Do you want to move on?
Yeah, sounds good.
Alright, fall 1902. So, I'm looking over this board now to see where the interesting parts are. I'm not sure I like the. Well, as England, I would love the French fleet retreating to Spain from mid Atlantic Ocean, but as France, I'm a bit dubious on it. I think it should have probably stayed in mid Atlantic Ocean or gone to English Channel if you could get England's agreement for that. But that's certainly not the most interesting thing that's happening on this board. I don't know what you want to talk about first.
Um, I think my instinct is to talk about Russia here.
Which bit? Because there's a lot going on with Russia right now.
The fact that it looks like Russia is kind of stabbing Germany.
Yeah. All sorts of Silesia, Galicia to Bohemia. It certainly looks like they are attacking Germany. There is, I think, no other reasonable explanation for those moves, right? What else would you be doing with that?
Yeah,
Yeah. But at the same time, it's maybe not unjustified, because if you look at Denmark here, it was supporting Skagerrak to Sweden. So Germany flipped. At the same time as Russia did, by the looks of things. So some kind of breakdown in communication happened here between the two of them, or maybe one of them got pulled on side by England, and then the other one found out about it and then went screw you and also decided to go on board with England. It's difficult to know without exact access to the press, but yeah, that's certainly the dynamic has changed a lot since last turn.
yeah. I mean, obviously, when alliances break down, they're kind of gonna crumble against a unified front, even if the unified front isn't playing optimally.
Yes. Uh, so I mean, they're not.
Jeez.
Germany is not crumbling on the French front, right? But yes, Sweden has been taken here by England.
Sweden has been taken, and uh, that's just not very fun. And because um, France isn't getting the fleet into the English Channel, then Belgium is going to be tough. Um, yeah,
Yeah, that's suddenly England went from well, we didn't really do power rankings there, but I feel like England was not high on the power rankings prior to this turn, just due to the fact that the Germany-Russia alliance was likely going to roll over them, or at least win in the north, and France's best move would have been to stab England at that point. But yeah, I kind of want to talk about this Russian stab in the center because
yeah,
it's really effective against Germany, but it's kind of ignoring the fact that Austria exists.
yeah. It's an it's a really interesting play. Um, it feels kind of weird to me because when I play Russia, I never abandon my south. I don't do it. Um, but if you're trying to just say, hey, Romania doesn't matter too much, Sevastopol, let's ignore it. I'm gonna control Scandinavia and I'm gonna push through, and that's gonna be how I get it. Like, sure, Austria and Italy are working together now, but once Turkey starts crumbling, Italy's probably gonna hit Austria, and so I can probably stay safe and survive at Warsaw and Moscow.
It's such an interesting way of playing. I would never do that either. Like, it's just so easy to hold this Warsaw Ukraine Sevastopol line against an Austria Italy that giving it up just feels so weird. It's
Yeah, but I think the argument is to say, well, Germany's gonna stab me, and we agreed that we thought that Austria and Italy did have the advantage in the long run, right? If the game went on forever, I do think they were eventually going to break because you see this fleet in the Eastern Mediterranean is now important, and so there were going to be convoy threats, and Turkey was eventually going to crumble. And so, like a couple years down the line, that's not a good long-term plan. But maybe if you can kill Germany, maybe you get builds, you can work against England, and you can solidify yourself there. I don't know. It seems like a tough call. Um, but yeah, not a play I would have done. And I mean, the reason why is because hey, look, I think Romania is gone this year.
yep, I would agree with that. I, I don't know. I just really dislike attacking Germany as Russia anyway. If I do attack Germany as Russia, it tends to be from the north. So once you've secured Scandinavia, then you go in against Germany. But it's really difficult to hold Munich and Berlin long term just because you're in this weird corridor where any builds that you get, you kind of have to force your way through here, and any builds that you get take a little while to get there because they have to cross this big deserts of non-SCs in Prussia, Silesia, and etc. And you can only really build in Warsaw if you want to go straight there. Um, yeah, it just feels painful to me to focus there. But the Russia has retreated to Baltic, so they do have 2 units on Berlin, 2 units on Munich. It looks like it could be a very effective attack if they are able to follow through with it. But they will have a disband this year because they lost Sweden.
And they might lose Romania too. So
Well, yeah, they can't lose Romania this year because this is the full turn. But
yes. Yeah.
but certainly next year they could.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's not great for longevity. But oh well. Shall we go to see builds? Or anything
uh,
else you want to talk about?
1 second first. What would you take off as Russia?
I mean, we already lost Romania, so like probably Moscow.
You take Moscow off.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Everything sucks. Like every unit's important, right? Romania's already lost, so we're probably gonna lose it. But like, if we lose Romania, they're just gonna walk into Sev, and I don't want that. So I was gonna
Yeah.
move Moscow into Sev and use that to cover. Um, maybe Bohemia, right? Maybe like the oops, this was a mistake. Sorry, but
Yeah,
That doesn't seem very good either.
it
Seems
kind
like
of
I'm kind of committed.
it kind of goes to show that your yeah, the attack maybe wasn't all that good if you're if the first disband you come to is that, or one of the potential disbands you're coming to is one of the most key units in your attack.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know. What would you disband?
I would probably take off St. Petersburg North Coast, um, just because it can't go anywhere, and I'm supposed to be working with England now. Maybe I don't know, but like, there's no way you're getting back into Scandinavia after this, right?
Okay, I think all right. All right, I absolutely agree. I think disbanding fleets is a good idea. Let's blow that fleet up. I like it.
Okay, right. Let's go through to the winter. I mean, yeah, that is. I didn't actually notice Germany got a build from Belgium there, which makes this Russian attack a little more painful for Russia. Man. And England builds Fleet London, which is a little worrying for France for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that worrying because I still expect there to be pressure on Germany, but it does mean like, and where else is it? I don't know. Like, I wouldn't be happy about it, but also, what am I going to do about it?
Yeah, I feel like if I was France and I just made a deal to go into the south coast of Spain instead of holding in mid-Atlantic Ocean, I would at least expect England to build their fleets in Edinburgh rather than London. But hey, functionally it could be the same if it goes to North Sea, right? We
It'd be
don't.
totally fine.
Yeah, we don't have very much to talk about in this phase, so shall we just move on to the spring? Oh,
Let's do it.
wait! Power rankings. What are your opinions on
Fine.
power rankings?
Um, well, since I know how the game ends, England is number one.
Okay, independent of the game end, would England still be number one at this point?
Yeah, probably. Like England is the country that I would most want to play right now. Um, I could see France, but probably no. England with the fleet in the north being disbanded, England is the most fun. Absolutely.
Okay, so what about underneath England? Who's the second most you would want to play?
I think Austria.
A four center Austria?
I would want to play this Austrian position.
Is that because you find it fun, or is that because it's strong?
Both.
Okay, right. Do you want to explain that?
So Russia's busy attacking Germany and is not defending himself. I'm gonna be taking Romania. Turkey is getting heavily pressured by Italy and Aegean and Eastern Med. France has too many armies and a fleet in the Spain south coast, so I don't think. I think eventually France is going to attack Italy so that Italy doesn't have forever to kill me, and I'm going to sit there, grow, and then I'm going to waltz into Ukraine and I'm going to kill Russia.
Yeah, I mean that sounds pretty solid. I guess there's something in me that just doesn't like picking up a four center Austria with an Italian Trieste and an Italian army in Albania and an Italian fleet in Aegean Sea. But you're absolutely right. Russia having just walked past Austria does put Austria in a stronger position than it would appear at first, I think. Um, so yeah, I'll leave that at second. What would you put as the rest of your rankings?
As much as it pains me to say it, I think France.
France in third?
I think this France position is just really good. It's just like, yeah, I'm not going to do anything ever, but I'm not going to die anytime soon, and maybe I'll get something when Germany explodes.
Yeah, that is one of the big things. Having built this many armies, you do have to go into Germany for expansion. But the fact that everyone is going into Germany means that this stone wall of Belgium, Ruhr, and Munich, just that setup that would usually be impossible to break or near impossible, is probably going to fall sooner rather than later.
Yeah, it's
So,
very possible to break here.
yeah. So, France in third then.
Yeah,
After that,
but maybe Italy.
okay.
And so one thing that I want to be clear is if you give me Italy right now, I'm just gonna stab Austria.
Right. You wouldn't continue the attack into Turkey?
No.
Even with Fleet Eastern Mediterranean?
Nope. I just convoyed my army out of Tunis. I don't have a fleet in Ionian, so I can't convoy it back. Like, what am I gonna kill Turkey with just fleets? Not a chance.
This was a move that we didn't really pick up on, right? The convoy from Tunis to Tuscany. It didn't. It looked a bit like it looked quite innocent. It's just like, hey, I can get my unit back to my mainland and defend it. But in order to kill Turkey, usually you have to convoy in Syria, or at least that's a key part is convoying the Italian army across. And the
Yeah.
fact that Italy didn't put a fleet in Ionian makes that really difficult. And they took the army out that you would usually convoy across. So,
Yeah.
yeah, you're
And
absolutely
so
right.
because of that, I'm looking at Italy and I'm saying, all right, look, I'll take Greece, I'll pull Eastern Med into Ionian, and I'll stare at this fleet in the Tyrrhenian Sea really angrily and hope that I can turn it into an army.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, if you take Greece, you can build an army, so
Yeah,
you
yeah,
don't have
yeah.
to.
It's just gonna take forever.
Yes.
Um, but that's basically my line. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that's fair. So we've got Turkey, Russia, and Germany left on the power rankings. Which of them is the strongest?
Russia.
Russia. Okay.
Yeah.
You think so? Do you think that because they could get stuff out of Germany, or do you think that just because they're not going to die anytime soon, or what?
Yeah, they're gonna be taking stuff from Germany and like sure they're gonna be losing centers, but I don't think they're gonna die. And there's like, yeah, I don't know. Things look. I'm excited for this Russian position. I'm optimistic.
Alrighty. I it it's hard for me to say it's a. Well, I guess we're not looking at good positions at this point. We're looking at the best of the bottom of the table, but
Yeah.
yeah, which is an important thing to keep in mind. But man, I would hate playing this Russian position. I would probably put this Russian position below the German and the Turk in terms of which I would choose to play on this board. But yeah, I think that might just be down to the fact that I like defensible positions, and this is very much not one. Uh, so I'll leave that. Yeah, I'll leave Russia in fifth. So between Germany and Turkey, who is
I
last
mean,
and who is
Germany has
second?
6 centers, Turkey has 4.
All right, so you want Germany over Turkey?
Yeah, there's well, like it takes a little longer for Germany. No, it doesn't. Germany's gonna die so much faster than Turkey if people attack. But I don't know. I think there's more opportunity for chaos around Germany, so maybe people swap and then Germany doesn't die. That's
Okay.
that's kind of it.
Yep, fair enough. All right, so I will. There we go. There's our 1902 power rankings. Cicero as England in first place. Austria is Fenstertim in second. George the Goat in France in third. A Helping Hand in Italy in fourth. Galahad 3 in Russia in fifth. Mr. Creepy in Germany in sixth. And then Sci Fi down there in seventh in Turkey. Stuck in the box.
This is the lowest we've ever put the supply leader, isn't it?
Which one is the supply leader? Oh, it's
Germany.
Germany. Wow, yeah. I mean, it is only by one, and they do have 3 people knocking at the door. So, but yeah, this is probably the lowest. Usually, it is relatively similar to supply count, but here, just you're not going to hold 6 centers.
Yeah. Want to see Germany's best attempt?
Yeah, let's go ahead to spring 1903.
Yep.
Yeah.
Germany did not, in fact, hold 6 centers.
In fact, they held 2, at least for the spring phase. It's very possible they get some back in
Or it's possible they get eliminated.
yeah, it is actually possible that they die completely here. Um, there's some interesting parts of their defense that are maybe not that great, but it's really tough to say what you should be doing in this situation because, like, there wasn't a good defense against all of this.
Yeah, at some point there's just too many units, and you don't have enough to hold. And so you're gonna get broken and pick your poison. And the answer was they chose,
Yeah.
yeah,
So I don't like the move into Prussia. I think that should have gone to Cilicia if you're doing this attack on Burgundy,
yeah,
just to cut this potential attack, which would have actually worked here. But yeah, it is also it's important to note this is Blitz. You have 5 minutes to talk to everyone and to get your orders in. So it is possible they like misclicked on Prussia rather than Cilicia, because I don't see a good reason to go to Prussia here.
yeah, that's possible. Yeah, I don't know. It's yeah,
Yes, but the end result of all of this, the of course the most painful thing is that England immediately turns on them after they try to help England into Sweden on the previous phase, uh, and Russia ends up in Berlin. They end up in Munich. France ends up in Belgium, and England ends up in Denmark. So painful turn, painful turn.
yeah, making us look pretty stupid for putting Germany above Turkey, given that Germany's probably going to be dead next turn.
Yeah, although Turkey's position isn't looking that great either. Although they did convoy back into Ankara, so they have a decently defensible mainland. Turkey,
And Italy moved Eastern Med into Aegean.
yes, they did. Um,
So Turkey's not going to die for like 3 years.
yeah, this is a really odd attack that they decided to do. Um, it would have made much more sense to just put the Serbian army in Bulgaria. I guess Italy demanded a supply center at this point, but given they already have Trieste, that feels a little greedy. Uh, Actually, is Italy just gonna attack Greece at this point? I guess not, because there's too many Turkish units on Bulgaria, but man, this does not look like the kind of attack that follows through into Turkey.
No, not at all.
Hmm.
All right. In the meantime, France is sitting here saying, ugh, Italy's tying down two of my units. God darn it. I don't want to deal with that. And that's, yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird move from Italy as well, because usually if you're doing something like this, you go into Lyon, right? You
Yep.
want to have two units on Marseille. Why you would go into Western Mediterranean instead? All it does is really threaten a move to Mid-Atlantic Ocean, which doesn't feel necessary here. I guess maybe Italy was expecting France to move into Western Mediterranean. That would make this make more sense. But
Yep.
yeah, obviously France did not do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, I like having fleets in the mid-Atlantic as Italy. It always makes me feel good.
I mean, yeah, it can be very helpful, but usually you want some kind of backup there as well. It's not just one fleet in the Middle Atlantic Ocean and your other units in Aegean Sea, Bulgaria, and Trieste.
Okay, do I agree that would I like to have more units on the board? Yes. But if you asked me, hey Marcus, would you like to have a unit in Gascony? Sure. You want a unit in Ukraine? Absolutely. I'll take free units wherever I can get them. So here, it's that, okay, so it's a trade-off between Mid-Atlantic Ocean versus Ionian, and that's a more reasonable question, because
Yeah.
Ionian Sea's pretty good.
Yep. I was gonna say. Um, yeah, Ionian Sea with the extra fleet certainly feels a bit better than a random fleet in Mid Atlantic Ocean. Although Mid Atlantic Ocean is quite useful. um, it's but yeah, I would expect that this was done because Italy was expecting France to go after them rather than because they wanted to launch an attack on France.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable too.
Okay, so what do you think about this London to English Channel move? If you are playing as
Oh, it's
France.
perfect. Oh, as I'm playing France, I'm like, see, remember like earlier in this game, right? When we looked like there was going to be Germany and Russia attacking England, I was like, oh, that means we should build a fleet and we should move it into the English Channel because there's nothing England could do about it. So England has built a fleet in London and moved it in the English Channel because we're at war with Germany and now Italy apparently, and there's nothing we can do about it. So sure, I'm pissed, but what am I? What is it going to change anything? No, I can't. I can't do anything.
Yeah, that's fair enough. At least you have enough armies on the peninsula to like defend Brest, um, and stop
Yeah,
any kind of landing into Picardy. I do
right.
wonder whether Cicero at this point was saying, "Hey, I need to move a fleet to the English Channel to help you into Belgium." Um,
Um, yeah, I haven't. I don't know if I've played against Cicero to have a sense of exactly what its tech style is like. But any human player in that position is saying exactly that. Yeah, English Channel is just a great place for a unit. We need it because it's efficient. Yada yada yada.
yeah, and it.
Oh my God! Wait, it's great. Now there's an Italian fleet in Western Med. I'm gonna say, hey, Italy's gonna be going to Mid Atlantic Ocean. I gotta go there to stop to not let him get in. Too big of a deal.
Don't
Yep.
you? Doesn't in that case France just say, "Hey, can't we bounce in Mid-Atlantic Ocean?" Then that kind of solves that.
Yes, I would, but then I'm gonna tell Italy, and Italy's gonna support me in the Mid Atlantic Ocean, and then I'll support him into Spain, and then yeah,
Okay, I mean, yeah, that would probably work.
yeah.
Would
So
be
that's my line from here. But anyways, point is, I'm pissed about it, but I did this to myself by building too many armies early and then never getting to build a fleet.
yeah,
Oh,
that's true. Um, or
okay.
yeah, you could have moved into English Channel with the one fleet that you had a bit earlier. Although I don't know
Yeah,
how
that
well
too.
Cicero
Yeah,
would have
that would have
done that.
also worked.
Yeah. So,
Oh, this is gonna hurt.
shall we go ahead to fall 1903?
But yeah, let's do it. Oh my God.
All right, fall 1903. So actually, England just supports hold Belgium, and Italy runs away. So it doesn't really hurt France after all.
I
Um,
mean, it's okay. The self bounce is good because now France gets to build a fleet in Brest. And honestly, it does seem like France is reacting very seriously to this, and is going to build a fleet now. Although I just want to point out a little bit that Italy could have just moved into Spain and Marseille and just won the game.
yeah,
Uh, that would have been just the biggest coup like ever because that would be building two for kind of free.
yeah. I wonder if so. I feel like France can't have told Italy that they're going to be doing this because I feel like Italy just walks in every time, right?
Yeah,
Maybe Italy said to France, "Hey, I'm going to back off, and let you deal with England," and then France decided to do these moves on their own. Um, but I mean, whatever the case, Italy didn't move into those two, so France got away with it, regardless of how bad this could have been. Right?
yeah, and this was pretty good de-escalation. Like, good negotiations, good plan. I'm pretty pleased with how things went there.
Yes, and especially in a 5-minute game, it's very impressive to see people be able to de-escalate this effectively in one
Yeah,
phase.
and so let's talk about Russia and de-escalation here. Because Russia managed to convince Austria that Italy was going to stab him and that therefore Austria shouldn't take free builds.
Yes, that's
That's amazing.
it is true, and Russia managed to counter the attempted Turkish attack purely because of that, right? Well, they would have lost Romania otherwise, but yeah,
It's great.
it
That's
is.
really, really impressive.
I
Also, de-escalated the north. So now England is leaving St. Petersburg alone rather than just sort of taking it.
Yep, it's, and they get a build.
Yeah,
It's like
standing.
wow, yeah, I would not have expected that. It's it's certainly a better situation than Russia was in last year. Uh,
And now Germany's almost dead, right?
yeah, that is
France and
true.
England, there's a little tension there. Maybe some room to exploit. You still have a fleet in Berlin, so there's pressure on the Baltic. Maybe you're going to be able to reinstate yourself in the north in a little bit because you still can build in St. Petersburg. I
Yeah,
don't know.
and England's got nothing threatening it. It's remarkable, honestly. I think I'd really like to see Russia build Army Moscow, as non-committal as that is, just because,
Absolutely. I love
yeah,
it.
it's defensive, right?
Yeah, and you want to see other builds. You want to see how things are going before we try to do it. And yeah, helping hold on to Sevastopol is important. This is great. I think Russia has been the most impressive, like highest position above expected. Right, this year was great for him.
Yes, 100%. I agree. I feel like at the start of this year, I was expecting Romania, Sevastopol, and St. Petersburg to all be gone relatively soon.
Yeah, and right, the hope was that he then can get something from Berlin. Maybe he can hold on to one fleet in Bothnia or something and whatever. But no, this is just Russia's position actually looks solid now.
Yeah. Uh, Anything else you want to talk about here? We haven't really discussed what happened in Germany, although it is mostly just people bullying Germany, right?
Yeah, and Germany doing his best to not get bullied, but he's got whatever 4 units. Nah, he's got 5 units still. Yeah,
Uh,
5 units still trying to hold, but there's just a million attacking. So
yes. It's important to note here, I think, that Germany did not try and do anything against England and even vacated Kiel specifically to try and take Munich out. And I feel like this is always the downside to stabbing your ally, right? Like Russia did against Germany. It's likely that if you start winning, they are going to throw things against you rather than against the other opponent. But it worked out for Germany here. They managed to get Munich back. And Munich, I would say, is probably a lot more defensible than Kiel in this situation.
yeah, not particularly
Uh,
defensible, but more defensible than the unholdable spot. Yeah.
yeah, okay. That's fair enough.
And also the way that it worked out, Munich was kind of the only place they could have actually gotten, right? Because if they went for Berlin, that wouldn't have succeed. If you support, yeah, no, that wouldn't have succeeded,
You would have
right?
to cut Munich, cut Silesia, and support Kiel into Berlin, which is like, then you lose Kiel anyway, and you only get them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But no, you could have, I suppose, then gotten Berlin instead of Munich. But again, you'd much rather have Munich. I agree. So
yeah.
I think that this was solid defensive moves all around.
I All right, so we are then going into winter 1903. Unless you've got anything else you want to talk about there.
Let's just see what Italy builds is one thing that's important because Austria has now navigated 3 units to be on Trieste. So
Yes.
it's possible they're actually going to war now, but we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Winter 1903. Fleet Naples. Italy's not concerned about Trieste, maybe.
Nope. And Turkey blew up the fleet in Smyrna?
Uh, Turkey. Yeah, they took off Fleet Smyrna. Interesting. Um, is that just because they think there's so many fleets in the Mediterranean at this point? They're not going to get that out. Is it because they
I don't know.
stabbed
I'm
they?
expecting.
It might be because they stabbed Russia last phase trying to get into Sevastopol and they don't want to leave Black Sea open. But then you would
Yeah,
expect Ankara
yeah,
to come off.
Armenia. That makes sense.
Yeah, they must have tried to cut some kind of deal with Italy prior to doing this, right?
Seems probable.
Oh, except you can't negotiate in builds. So, well, yeah, this will have had to be a negotiationless reaction to not taking Sevastopol. But yeah,
Yeah, some optimistic whatever. Um, Also, we see England building a couple fleets, not particularly surprising.
yes, and maybe the most surprising thing: France builds Army Marseille.
I mean, dude, some France's like armies, man.
Yeah, this is a lot of them.
And this is a classic example of why a five army France sucks. Right? You're a six center France. You're supposed to have some effect on the board that feels different from a three center France, but he doesn't. His units don't feel like they do anything. France is a naval power, and that's fine. We're going to see France get bodied by England because England has built fleets and France does not have fleets. Okay.
Yeah, I think maybe the important thing here. So we saw France mobilize north. We saw France self bounce on Brest to keep it open for the build, and then France built Army Marseille. I think English Channel support Belgium hold might have been a pretty important move in influencing this. Because
Yeah,
France
maybe
clearly
it doesn't
expected
matter.
England to attack them, right? And then England didn't immediately attack them. Um,
Yes, I think that's true. I do believe that is what caused France to make this mistake. But fundamentally, you still build a fleet in Brest. You just don't care.
yeah, I would agree. um, but I think the main reason we've seen all these army builds from France is because they've been trying to stick to agreements. At least that's my read on the situation for this whole time.
Fine.
And yeah, this is a classic case of sticking to agreements too much.
So build a fleet in Marseille and move it to Spain. It's defensive, right? Nobody can get pissed at you about it, but it's at least a unit on the board that feels like it does something.
Yes. Yeah. In order
As is
for.
Army Paris, it's not. It's basically useless.
Yes. I agree. You would kind of need this Army Marseille to go to Tyrolia in order for it to actually have an impact here, which
Yeah,
feels difficult to do while England is about to attack you.
yeah, and when Austria and Italy are at war, so Tyrolia is kind of important for them too. It's like, sure, you can affect that war, but you don't know what you're doing in that war. I don't know who I want to win there. There's too much chaos on this board right now. I just need a unit to help me be stronger. Ah, very scary. But
uh,
anyways,
okay, and then the only other things Fleet Naples instead of Army Venice and Army Sevastopol instead of Army Moscow.
yeah,
Any opinions on those?
I think it's fine. I don't know. I'm not. Yeah, whatever. I think Army Sev and Army Moscow are very similar because I think it's unlikely you were going to move Army Moscow to the north anyways this turn. So seems kind of fine.
Yeah, that's probably true. Um,
What do you think about that fleet in Naples?
Oof. I mean, it can still be used to attack Austria, right? Is the interesting thing here. I don't know, but I would have built Army Venice. I think every time here, right? But it does feel like maybe that fleet. No, okay, so Italy. I'm not used to being the one that gets asked the questions. I'm used to you having to do the thinking. I it it could well go through to Eastern Mediterranean and attack Turkey. Maybe that makes the most sense for it, actually. If you've only got the two units in Tyrolia Trieste, I guess you want to keep the alliance with Austria and you're trying to convince them to turn around again. Um,
Yeah, we'll see. I think that'll be a tell from this Italian player to say, "Hey, I know you could take a center from me, but you should go take maybe a center from that person you could have taken a center from for the past like 2 years and then didn't." Yeah, yeah,
yes.
yeah. So we'll see.
I wonder if Italy was thinking maybe if they build Army Venice, then Russia will be asked to just tap Tyrolia and they'll lose Trieste anyway. Um, that line
Maybe.
of Russian and Austrian units together looks quite scary, actually.
I mean, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's kind of scary, but I expect them to attack each other pretty soon. So
Yeah. Okay, shall we move ahead to the spring?
sounds good.
Okay. Spring 1904.
And back to Eastern Madonagean. Hey guys, I know we just took Bulgaria last year. That was kind of the whole point, but I realized, oops, I need some more stuff.
I don't I don't understand what the goal here is. Like, yes, getting out of Bulgaria is a good idea with the fleet. Like, the fleet in Bulgaria is not going to do very much, but
I
then
mean,
Austria just takes Bulgaria behind you. What was the point of not putting the Austrian army there in the first place?
I think there were some tactical reasons for that, and they like weren't thinking about cutting Constantinople with Aegean, and they wanted to ensure that Aegean couldn't be cut.
Hmm.
I think they just overlooked that tactical little bit there.
Yeah, that makes sense. It was like, hey, we want to
Or Italy
grab the
said, "Give
center
me a
now.
build," right?
Yeah,
There could be that level of greed involved, and didn't think through the ramifications. And Austria's like, I mean, sure, I don't know.
yeah, yeah. I think
Look,
that's
Italy's got a
fair.
lot of fleets, and is not really able to do anything with all of them.
Yeah. So Austria is clearly still like hoping to, well, or is clearly still nervous about the Italian to the point of attacking Trieste and support holding
Yeah, I
Greece.
think Austria just thinks she's at war with Italy.
Yes, and Italy clearly
I
doesn't
think,
think they're at war with Austria right now.
yeah, but I mean, I don't know. At some point, well, you really only need one person to start a war.
Yes, that is true. Uh, well, interestingly, what do you think about this attempted Sevastopol to Ankara?
I think it's funny. Honestly, it might have been a misclick. Like, might have been trying to go to Armenia or something, but I think it's mostly a joke, and it's a pretty funny joke at that.
Yeah.
The scary part though is the Sweden to Finland. Oops, Russia's dead.
Oh, right.
Like Russia's losing St. Pete, and that's going to be lose to an army with no defense. And in the
Ouch.
meantime, all of like Berlin is not looking to be too healthy because Russia took from Silesia. So there's less support for Berlin. Munich is going to be a little scary because France has actually still only two armies. Never mind, Munich is fine. God, that's so depressing. But yeah, it's like I don't think Russia's position looks too good anymore, and England is just going to be like a 20 center country, just whatever. Get to 14 dots and then end it basically.
Yeah, this is, I guess, why Russia needed to be in Moscow rather than Sevastopol, just as a sort of deterrent to this move to Finland. Because,
Yeah, I mean
but
Warsaw, I wouldn't expect it to move to Moscow, but
yeah, to Ukraine here is, I guess, they were worried about Austria turning around and going after Romania. Um,
yeah, it defends Sevastopol and Romania, so that's pretty good. It's just what else was Sweden gonna do? Is the counterpoint, but well,
yeah,
look, mistakes get made sometimes, and that's just how it's gonna be. Well, by humans, anyways.
yeah. I guess this was one of the situations where so Cicero wasn't known as an AI in this game. It was playing under the guise of being a human, right? So this might have been one of the instances where that really helped it because I think if you know England as an AI in this situation, you would never leave St. Petersburg undefended, right? You would always put something in Moscow. Whereas if that's a human, maybe they just view, hey, I need to keep someone on the board as my ally right now, and Russia looks like the person to keep as an ally right now. Um, so I won't go and snag one easy open dot. But it's
When
like,
that thought is St. Pete, you
yeah,
always snag St. Pete.
St. Peter's such a nice dot to have because it just blocks Russia from being able to build in the north. And then
Yeah,
suddenly no one has any northern build centers for fleets anymore.
uh-huh. Yeah. Well, not that are legally allowed to build a fleet. I think we've established the naval factories in Brest were broken for this game.
Yes.
So,
Man,
oops.
it's so difficult to get the build necessary to build in Brest anyway at this point because you have to both get Brest open and you have to get a supply center on the same turn. And
Yeah.
England is about to take Milan to Goshen off you, so you're in a painful situation with regard to Brest anyway. So it's
Yeah.
kind of yeah, really difficult.
Yeah. So at this point, it really does feel like there's no way anyone is going to beat England for the top on this board, right? And
Yes.
it's 0-4.
Yeah. There's still 4 years in this game, but I would agree completely. It's England is kind of has a foregone conclusion here of this is a thing that maybe is exclusive to England on a diplomacy board, where if you manage to knock out all the other fleets in the north, no one is ever going to beat you for a board top usually, especially in a 1908 game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's exactly what England managed to do. Uh,
It's like even if you were to actually remove the time limit for this game, like trying to figure out the situation in which you control every other power on the board. How do you stop England? Other than by throwing to a single power, fine, that works. But how do you actually eliminate England from here? It's just really hard.
yeah, I think it's not possible. There's just you have to maneuver every Italian fleet over to the western line, and even then you can't really get them through Mid-Atlantic Ocean. England
Yeah,
has enough fleets to block it.
it's like you need Mid-Atlantic Ocean to become a raider and just hopefully find some time to mess with the line and get through.
Yes.
But I don't know if that's ever going to happen. Um, Berlin, you have to keep alive and you have to get it out to Baltic or whatever, but then you're still not going to break stuff. Like, I suppose you could eventually just restrict England's resources enough by like taking Kiel back and Holland that England might not be able to do it. You'd feed them both to France. Like, it's probably possible, but it requires great coordination between all the powers and for an 08 game. So that's just it's not going to happen. And it's really impressive to have a predetermined top by spring '04.
Yes. Uh, and like I can point at a few moments where they should have done something different here, right? So for example, Germany and Russia attacking each other definitely led to this point. France not building fleets led to this point.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was just very masterfully taken advantage of, right?
Yeah.
This is just England has, and even down to going into Skagerrak super early there, that could have gone incredibly wrong for them. But it was just such a high roll if it went right. It was they've just followed it through to the point where they've got a really dominating position immediately that wouldn't probably have been possible otherwise.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's just true.
Yeah. So one thing actually I should mention before the end of the game, because I think it comes into effect in this game. Like you'll see a few weird moves at the last few turns. Obviously, in a 1908 game where it's supply center based, in the last few years everyone's gonna start scrambling to get supply centers that they can get because they want to increase their own score, right? Regardless of sometimes people stick to alliances. Most of the time, people scramble to grab stuff, and so they'll DOS each other and whatnot. I think, if I recall correctly, this version of Cicero doesn't know that the game ends in 1908. So it's going to keep playing as though it was just going to continue playing for best score in a long term game. So you probably won't see that kind of behavior from Cicero. But I think in this instance it doesn't make a huge difference because England is just so powerful.
Yeah, so it might make it perform slightly worse in SOS scoring, right? Because again, it's gonna maybe not take a dot that it could or whatever at the last turn of the game, but it's not going to affect the actual like who's going to be the top on this board.
Yes. Okay, so have we discussed everything on this turn, or do you want to look at anything else?
I'm good.
Okay, full 1904 then. And this is, after the busyness of the map on the last turn, this is a remarkably not busy map.
A lot of support holds.
A lot of support holds, yes. Except in Austria, where there
Yeah,
is a
Italy
war
and
going on.
Austria decided to trade some centers.
Yes. So actually, they went exactly even on both fronts. Italy took Vienna, lost Trieste. Austria took Bulgaria, lost Greece. Um, there's, it's actually kind of a more stable configuration, at least in the south, because like Italy can hold Greece but can't really press forward from it. But the Vienna front is a bit of a weird one because Italy doesn't have a build to stick in Venice now, and they do have an enemy unit adjacent to Venice. Uh, maybe more importantly there is Ukraine's Galicia.
Okay, so I have a question about this. It on this site, this Sev to Rum convoy thing, because Black Sea tried to convoy Sev to Rum, and Sev moved to Rum, and Rum moved to Sev.
You would think so. So this is a problem with Backstabber's display. Actually, this game was played on web diplomacy. All the BlitzCon games were. I've like imported them into Backstabber. But this unit in Black Sea is not convoying Sevastopol to Romania. It's convoying Sevastopol to Bulgaria, which is why this didn't work.
Oh,
It would have been a successful convoy shuffle if Sevastopol had been convoyed to Romania.
okay, got it. Yeah, that was the thing that I misread on the UI
Yes.
and in the order sheet. Yeah, Sev to Bol. Oh man.
Yeah, it would have been a really nice rearrangement from the Russian if it had worked.
I mean, alternatively, just convoying, accepting the convoy into Bulgaria and then supporting it with Romania would have worked too. Funnily
Yes,
enough.
that's true. Actually, I actually that would have been much better because in this instance, if Sevastopol actually gets out of Sevastopol into Romania, there's nothing defending Moscow on the next turn. Russia doesn't get a build here because they're losing St. Petersburg, and they're gaining Munich. So this is actually maybe a blessing in disguise that they didn't manage to do this.
Eh, nah. England can't hold Moscow. And if you take out a build, right, you're going +1. You're going to be neutral, right? Because you're gaining St. Pete, losing St. Pete, gaining Bulgaria. But by having this fail, you're not in position to get pressure on Austria. Oh, sorry, you gained
Sorry.
Munich.
Yeah,
No,
sorry,
I'm
no, I meant
sorry.
if they had convoyed into Bulgaria, it would have been fine because they would have had a build. If they
Yeah,
convoyed into Romania in this way, then they would have been in trouble, or in some trouble in Moscow because they have nothing left to defend.
yeah, a little bit of trouble. I mean, actually, and look, England's getting infinite builds, so England's going to get all the armies in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, never mind. I think this is actually maybe okay.
But
All
yeah,
right. Anyways, pretty sad. In the meantime, right, the rest of the board basically all holds. We see Irish Sea takes Mid Atlantic Ocean.
yeah, that's an important thing. Mid Atlantic Ocean retreats to north coast of Spain instead of south coast. Probably a misclick and definitely a painful one.
I mean, doesn't matter that much here, honestly.
Does it
Like,
not?
I mean, it's gonna be like moving into Portugal and stuff, anyways, and so that's kind of all that matters.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Actually, I guess it can defend Gascony as well from here, but like,
Yeah, whatever. It is scary because if you don't have Italy to cover you in Western Med, England can potentially just go straight to Western Med, and you can't really stop that. But
but Italy is there and ready, right? And they
yeah,
kind
I
of
mean,
have
maybe.
to defend against England at this point.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. It's the point where maybe you say, well, England's already going to top, so might as well get second. But SOS scoring, you really want to stop them from not getting that extra dot, etc.
Yeah,
Anyways,
so
say let's go on to winter.
all right, yeah, let's head on to Winter 1904. This will be another power rankings turn. There are only two builds on the board. They came from the German disbands.
Yeah, and they both went to England, so it's England and everybody else.
Yes, and as you can see, England is now building armies, which is a telltale sign that England has already won the fronts that it needed to win, and is now just going for more. Is just going for as big of a board top as possible.
Yep.
Yeah,
All right, and then what? Second place? It's like Italy or something.
yeah. Oh, I should. So actually, first I will take Germany off the power rankings, given that they have died. Goodbye, Germany. So previously we had below England, so you had England in definitely the correct position. Below England, we had Austria, then France, then Italy, then Russia, then Turkey.
Yeah, because Austria was supposed to attack Russia.
Yes. It's them not attacking Russia has definitely had a bad effect on them. Oof. So where would you put? Well, who would you put in second now?
I think Italy. I don't know.
Okay. I will move Italy to second place. I think I'd agree with that. Italy is in. It's really tough for them to attack further because they have no army in Venice. But like, if they can solve that issue, and it looks like the Russian is coming to help them, maybe, then they probably have the best position for pushing in.
Yeah, it's like I think Russia's gonna take Vienna, but then maybe they're gonna try to take some other stuff from Austria.
Yeah, I feel like Russia was coming in to assist Italy in this war, right? Because they did come into Galicia and try and go into either Bulgaria or Romania, one of the two.
Yeah, initially.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a chance. There's a real chance it can happen, but the fact that Russia currently has 2 units on Vienna and 2 units on no other center.
Yes, that's fair enough. So
So
it's a bit painful in the immediate term.
yeah, but
But
maybe it'll work out in the long run. And maybe Italy's going to be like, look, man, I'll give you Vienna, but then support me into Trieste or something. Like, whatever.
who would you put in third?
I don't know. Russia, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like it has to be Russia or France, right?
Not France. No.
No, do you think they're
Yeah,
gonna fall too
France.
fast?
Huh?
Do you think France is gonna fall? Like, they have a really defensible position here just because of the
Yeah, France is
number of
going to fall.
armies.
Absolutely, France is just going to fall. Iberia's going to go, and then you're going to start disbanding. And then what you going to do?
Yeah, okay, I suppose. Actually, it is quite difficult to hold. Uh,
Yeah, you just can't defend with only one fleet.
yeah, you have a bit of a guessing game here. If Italy comes in and defends Western Mediterranean for you, you do have two fleets at least, but then you can't have two fleets in the centers. Otherwise,
Yeah, and
Italy
your
takes it.
entire game plan is relying on Italy to hold and coordinate in a blitz game where Italy's got to be messaging like 3 other people and also holding the stalemate line. No, this is sorry. I France is not going to hold. There is no way.
Okay.
Let me put it this way. Okay, if there are some Frances that I would believe could hold, but they are not the Frances that will build one fleet over 5 years.
Yeah, that's fair. I think this is a very good point. It's worth judging the powers based on how experienced their play has seemed to the date, and I think France feels like they haven't got the experience of someone who could hold a position like this. To be fair, you probably need like Peter McNamara to hold a position like this, so
Yeah, like
it's not
McNamara,
easy.
I've seen Eddie Pearson hold some pretty busted positions.
Yes,
Whatever.
but yeah.
Anyways, I think we can. Point is, there's no way France is holding this.
Okay, so I have to ask you the important question then. Out of Austria, Turkey, France, who has the best position?
Turkey is the most likely to be alive in '08.
Okay.
I think Austria is the worst out of those. I don't. Yeah.
Okay, so Turkey, then France, then Austria?
Yeah, nah. France is fine. Fine, France is after it. It's gonna be hard to kill Paris, man.
Wait, sorry, do you think France is under Austria or
I
over
think
Austria?
France is over Austria.
Okay.
Actually, maybe France is higher than Turkey too.
Yeah, that would be maybe my. Well,
Yeah,
actually,
it's just like
who's going
taking
to
Marseille
attack
is gonna
Turkey?
take forever.
Who's going to attack Turkey here? If a wintergreen forms, so Russia, Turkey, sorry, not Russia, Turkey, Russia, Italy alliance, then Turkey is kind of screwed. That's true, but
Yeah, right.
off the bat, it kind of feels difficult to dislodge anything of Turkey's because again, Italy doesn't have anything to convoy.
It's absurd. How did they? How did the Lepanto start so well? Right? They were in Aegean and Eastern Med in like '02, right?
Yes.
And yet it's '04 and they haven't taken anything except Bulgaria.
Yeah. Based on respect for how well Turkey has been like holding out to date, I guess I'll leave them in third to last on this position above France.
Yeah, I mean, look, they
But
haven't lost a center in what, like 3 years or something. Like
yep.
that's impressive.
To be fair,
All right. Anyways, let's
they
go
have
to oh 05.
only changed their center count twice in the game. Once to go up Bulgaria and once to go down Bulgaria.
That is the most Turkey thing I've ever seen.
Yep. Alright, so there is the power rankings for winter 1904. We have CICERO in first. Spoiler alert, that is not going to change. Italy in second, Russia in third, Turkey fourth, France fifth, and Austria down there in sixth. So let's go ahead to spring 1905.
Oh God!
Which bit are
Oh,
you looking
France
at?
got exploded.
Yep, this is...
Oh no! Look, when I was talking smack about France, I was not expecting it to be this immediate.
Yeah,
Oh no!
this was a very good guess on the English party. Because
That's insane.
I feel like a convoy to Portugal is like one of the most risky moves you can do here in terms of the attack. Spain just feels like the more obvious option if you're going for one of the two, because with Spain North Coast, I would be moving that to Portugal every time, I think.
Same. But I'd also never put the fleet on the North Coast, so.
Yeah, that is fair. Actually, the convoy to Gascony would have worked too here, which is pretty unexpected because of the number of armies that could have defended that.
Yeah.
But,
Yep.
I mean, France's moves were all reasonable here. You want 3 support holds on Belgium to make sure that England can't take it with the 3 fleets around. You kind of want 2 support, well, the 1 support on Brest to make sure that England can't take it with those 2 fleets. And, like, Spain, Portugal is a guess. So, yeah.
So, yes, right. There is that part of France's moves, but the counter argument is that if you make plays like this, where you assume, right, because in your example, right, you're using Picardy to support hold Brest, and you're using Burgundy to support hold Belgium, because we're concerned about the English Channel attacking either one of those 2 locations, right?
Yes.
You're saying, if they do this with that unit, then I have to do this. If they do this with the other unit, I have to counter it. If you play like that with every unit, right, assuming that your opponents are going to know how to beat you, you're just never going to get anywhere and you're going to lose.
Yes.
You have to take risks. And so at some point you're going to say, fine, English Channel can do this, and maybe they'll take a center from me or not. But then will I be able to counter that next turn? Will I make it so that if they take Brest, for example, I get into mid-Atlantic Ocean? In that case, you're totally fine with them taking Brest. You don't have to worry about it because it's a good trade for you, etc. It's just this doesn't work as a defender. The attackers are going to see it, they're going to exploit it, and you're cooked. Like, again, more immediate than in most situations, but they needed to do better stuff. Like Burgundy needed to cover Gascony or something.
Yeah, I think that's the big one here. Like, you can point out that basically they defended themselves against 2 possible options for English Channel. They should have just chosen one that they thought England was likely to do, and then support held that one and moved Burgundy to Gascony. Because then on future turns, like, Gascony is in position to cover Spain. It's also in position still to defend Brest. Picardy, Belgium forms an immovable line there against the English as long as Russia holds. So you would be in a much better position if you'd moved Burgundy to Gascony here. But, yeah, ultimately, England did get a very good guess here. There wasn't really a way to cover Spain and Portugal.
Unreasonable.
Yeah. I think maybe they did this because this is the last turn you can reasonably make that guess. If you're expecting something like Burgundy to Gascony, you want to go for one of Portugal or Spain right now. But yeah, good play on their part.
Yeah, crushing. And then in the south, we see that Turkey is currently going to get a build.
Oh, it's incredible. Coming back, I do feel so. I feel bad for turkeys like this. Usually, the nice thing about Blitz is that this has only been going on for like an hour at this point. So you've only had to sit on 3 centers for an hour. Usually, in a diplomacy game, depending on what phase length you're talking, this would either be like 4 hours in, you would be sitting on 3 supply centers still, or this would be like a month into the game. Well, no, maybe a couple weeks. But yeah,
Point is, it's blitz is the best way to lose because you lose quickly and you get it over with.
yes,
Completely agree.
agreed. But this is a comeback. They've gotten
Oh
back out.
well, don't. So the way that it worked out, right? You now see they took it from Constantinople, and now Italy is in a G. Oh no, Eastern Med left. I'm sorry, I missed the Eastern Med left. Excuse me, you were good. I
Yes.
thought that Italy was gonna take Smyrna.
Yeah, actually, that would have been painful. But Italy did indeed leave Eastern Med. They've cut a deal with Turkey here. They actually supported Turkey out of Constantinople as well, so they're actively working together, or they're trying
Yeah,
to at least.
that's
Um,
great.
which it's an interesting decision. I think it is probably the correct decision. You just want to get as many people on board against Austria right now as possible, right? Because you can't defend Venice very easily and attack. Um, Russia did support Vienna to Budapest, but Italy didn't take the support. Which, yeah, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, I don't know why. It seems like Russia and Italy have been working together so far. Maybe this is a blitz thing where like a message got sent, Italy couldn't find it in time.
Right, yeah. It's also possible that or they just misordered this whole area because, like, Bohemia to Galicia is a, a weird move if you're support holding, if you're supporting something with Galicia. It doesn't cut because diplomacy's rules you can't cut your own unit, but, like, it's still not going to achieve anything. Anyway, I guess
Yeah.
maybe the future moves will shine more light on what's going on here. Um,
Want to go to the fall?
yeah, let's go ahead to fall 1905. Okay, so Russia is working with Austria here. They support Budapest into Vienna. So maybe it was actually just a support that was issued the wrong way?
Yeah, that could work.
Yeah, it could have been an attempt to support Budapest to Vienna. Um, but yeah, we will never know for sure. Uh,
France takes Munich. Wow. Finally.
oh boy. Okay. That's an interesting decision. I mean, what do you think about it? Would you have done it?
Mm, no, I would not.
Yeah. I think letting England take more stuff by doing this is just. I don't know, because at the same time, you do actually maintain your center count, and you're trying to make it to the end of the game with as many centers as possible in Blitz, right? Um, they're kind of doing what you mentioned and trying to take advantage, like guessing what England did, and they successfully guessed what England would do by
Yes,
protecting Belgium.
and
And
yeah, you'll see they like made progress, right? They got something else because they made a guess, right?
yes, um, the problem is that doing it this way
Be
means
careful
England
what
gets
you wish
stronger.
for.
Yeah. Uh, but they do manage to maintain their centre count, and England is kind of still blocked in regardless. If they get Denmark down to Kiel, then France is going to have some problems, but.
Yeah, so here, right, we just see things. Um, I think here we can actually say that I don't like the moves that England made here. Um, I would have much preferred to see Denmark get convoyed. Just
Yeah.
that's the main change. Just don't
Yeah.
worry about support holding Kiel from Denmark.
I think in a previous turn, Ruhr did try and support the Russian into Kiel, which might have been the reason why they threw a support hold there. Um, but certainly the convoy would have left them in a much better position here. Getting into Berlin with the army, or even if you convoyed into Livonia or Prussia or something, it
Yeah.
still, yeah, would have been very effective at setting you up for future.
Yeah, Livonia was my instinct because it just is the guaranteed advancement. Moscow is gonna get crushed, and like if
Yes.
I'm still thinking to solo, right? Because that's my think. And so, how do I get to 18? Well, Warsaw and Moscow is really common. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a solid approach. If you manage to get this army over here, you can just take Moscow guaranteed as long as Russia hasn't got a build, which they don't look like they have. Um, I, I think you would only make the moves that you make here if you knew that France was going for Munich. But we can't
in
actually
which
look at the
case,
press, so
yeah, but in that case, just like take Berlin with the army and then be happier. But whatever.
yeah. Well, yes, I think that's fair enough. Uh, is there
So,
anything?
just a high level thing, right? From these positions as England, this army in Denmark is really difficult to get off without being convoyed to Livonia, right?
Yeah, 100%.
It's just doesn't go anywhere. And so I like having the North Sea and Baltic Sea, and then you convoy to Denmark and then convoy to Livonia, and then it's two turns away from the mainland, Heartland, whatever. But whatever. Look, England's gonna crush. England's gonna be at what 11 this turn, and then maybe more. So
Yeah, it's just like nitpicking about what would have been more effective, but I think that's absolutely a good change. Convoying to Livonia would have been better here. Well, except that you got Berlin, but convoying to Berlin would have been better here if you knew that this was a possibility. Um, yeah. So, oh yeah, one last thing to mention here. We mentioned that Russia is working with Austria against Italy. Did not mention Russia is also working with Turkey here, supporting Black Sea into Bulgaria, just to like make sure that Austria and Italy aren't working together, I guess. So it feels like Russia is more so supporting Austria just to hurt Italy than they are to actually work with Austria. Um, yeah.
yeah, and it's weird. I would have expected then to see after Bohemia supporting Budapest into Vienna to see Galicia backfill Budapest, but no. Well,
Yes. Galicia support Romania is interesting too, because obviously Russia doesn't trust Turkey to not attack it. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, well, I guess we'll see how this turns out. Shall we move ahead?
yep.
Alright, winter 1905.
Another fleet from England. Kind of odd.
Yeah, Fleet Edinburgh is a weird choice. Because what's it going to do? It's like, I guess, well, if it wanted to go to the Atlantic Ocean, it should be in Liverpool. And, like, there's nothing else for a fleet to do it in the north, so
Yeah, my guess is just like I think a fleet liver. If you're building a fleet, it's to throw a mid-Atlantic Ocean,
yes.
and so fleet Liverpool's better. Or Army Eddy, of course, because then you want to convoy it.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see what it uses it for. We've
Yeah,
got
we'll see.
fleet pressure off the board. Makes sense. There's not much you can do with it now, and like it's the only fleet that is in the north against England, so it's not like it can get anywhere. Um, the other two builds, Austria's is straightforward. That's the only build they could make, but Turkey's is Army Smyrna, which says I am working against Russia.
Yeah, I guess. Like that's what it should say. I think it says I don't know what I'm doing.
Right? It's like I don't know what I've never had a non 1901 build before. What do I do? But yeah, just because they finally got Bulgaria back, which is something. But yeah, I think it's mainly because you can't build fleet Smyrna here, right? If you're trying to work with Italy, you can't justify it.
Yeah, but who cares about working with Italy right now?
Fair enough, actually. Italy is on the back foot down there. So, but like, how are you going to get anywhere? You're just going to get bounced out of Aegean. Uh,
I mean, then you'll take Greece.
yeah, maybe.
Whatever.
I guess
Look, I don't
fleet
believe in
Albania
making
gives some.
strategic sacrifices for the sake of potential alliances.
Yes, that definitely comes across. But yeah, I would expect the Smyrna army to move up to Armenia and attack Russia. We will see, though. You might be right that it's just an I don't know what to build, in which case maybe they'll stick with Russia and just keep trying to push through to Serbia unsuccessfully. We will.
Like, look, if you're trying to stab Russia, you just build a fleet in Smyrna, and then you convoy Constantinople to Armenia.
Yes, that would work.
And then they're not expecting a convoy or anything. Like, I don't know,
The
man.
upside to Army Smyrna is that you can support Bulgaria and Romania at the same time as going to Armenia, but I don't know that that's necessary because Russia will then already be on their guard, and so they'll be support holding Romania. Yeah. Anyway, shall we go ahead to the spring?
Let's do it.
Alright, spring 1906. Okay.
Yeah, so I think the Smyrna build is maybe, and I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah, moving Black Sea to Ankara. No, wait, they supported. So Turkey supported Galicia to Romania, so they wanted this to happen? That's a bit of an odd one. Maybe they were expecting, like, Italy to go full force into Aegean and Eastern Med? I don't know. I don't know why you would give up Black Sea like this.
It's insane.
Yeah. If I was to have to guess, I would say that the Army Smyrna was a build that wasn't intended to annoy anyone, right? And Russia on the next turn said, "You're going to move to Armenia and attack me, right? Like, this is obviously what this build is for." And Turkey was going, "Oh, no, 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 I'm not doing like that. Like, I genuinely didn't mean to do that. How could I make up for it?" And then Black Sea came up as a way they could make up for it. But yeah, it feels super bad to do this. This is just.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's enough talking about Turkey.
Yeah.
So England, like England's doing some things. Didn't get into Gascony, kind of sad, but is in Denmark. So, we got Denmark into Kiel, so that's pretty good. Eddie to Norwegian Sea. Like, what's it gonna do? Barents? Norway? I mean, when you're in Baltic, you don't really need another fleet over there. Like, I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
I do notice that we had Belgium Munich moving convoy to Cilicia Munich, which indicates to me maybe the build in Edinburgh was something like, "Hey, I've agreed with France not to build a fleet Liverpool, like as part of the agreement for attacking Munich." And then maybe France was going, "Oh, look, England built fleet Edinburgh instead of Liverpool, I'll go do this." But it seems a bit far-fetched because,
But that's possible. I could totally see that happening.
I mean, England did attack Belgium last turn while France was trying to take Munich, so I don't know. It feels like the only explanation I can come up with for Fleet Edinburgh, but it still feels like a far-fetched one.
Yeah, no idea.
Yeah, what do you think about the French shuffle?
I don't know, man. I think you can generally look at the moves that France has done and use them as a rubric to assume I would have done something different, which is kind of absurd, actually. Because most of the time, I agree with like 90% of the moves that everyone makes, but I don't agree with this France at all on anything.
Well, I mean, your philosophy is C dot take dot, right? Have you noticed that France could take Warsaw here?
Yeah, but if
There's
you're going
nothing
to do that,
adjacent.
you just move Munich. You move Munich into Silesia and say, "Ha ha, get scrubbed, son."
Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, the problem here is now England has easy access to Belgium. They can even convoy into Belgium with three. Nothing you can do to defend that because you only have two adjacent now.
Oops,
it
I
was
lost the dot.
it was a nice guess from France again. So two nice guesses in a row. First off, supporting Belgium last turn, and now moving to Gascony to block. But you need more than nice guesses sometimes, especially if you've left yourself like there's a guaranteed route for England to advance now, which is just painful after good guesses.
Yep.
And what do you think about Italy's moves into Piedmont and out of Adriatic?
I mean, out of Adriatic obviously is insane. Um, I mean, Venice to Piedmont, maybe. Like, you get a build. I mean, you get a dot in Marseille, but whatever.
Yeah, I was gonna say I actually had forgotten that the French fleet was on north coast, not south coast. This center is a freebie. There's nothing defending Marseille.
Yeah, remember when we said that we didn't think that the fleet on the North Coast was going to matter? Oops.
Yep. Oh boy. And the only other thing to point out here, I think Russia is definitely working with Austria at this point, and there was an attempt to get in position to take Venice, but Austria messed up their order from Vienna to Trieste and put in supports instead of moves. So their Vienna has just held in Vienna, and now they don't have the line against Italy quite. They do have a decent line against Italy because they've still got Tyrolia and Adriatic, but they don't have anything in Trieste.
Hey, want to go into fall?
Yeah, let's go ahead to fall 1906. Right. And yeah, this the Turkish moves definitely speak to what we said last turn. It looks like it was some kind of concession to just say, hey, I am really working with you. Self-balance in Armenia and support Romania into Serbia. So they were saying, hey, I want to work with you. But Russia, not accepting it.
Yeah, Russia misguessed. Could have gone to Venice instead of Trieste, but whatever.
I don't. They wouldn't have made it into Venice either.
Or no, sorry. Sorry, Vienna. Oh, sorry.
Oh, Vienna. Yes, yeah. They could have. This is true. At some points, it's just a 50-50. Although here, you would expect Austria to go to Trieste. So I wonder if maybe they thought that Italy was supporting them. But yeah, this is it's an interesting set of moves from Russia. Because on different fronts, it sort of conflicts. They're making everyone their enemy at this point. And they're losing Warsaw at the same time.
Yeah, doesn't feel great.
Yeah.
France losing Marseille, losing Belgium. Wait, Italy's building, right?
Oh yeah, Italy does get the build from Marseille. The freebie centre that we were talking about before. And this, despite France taking Warsaw, it's a bit of a painful turn for them because they lose two. So they go down one unit.
Well, at least they can just pop Warsaw. No one's ever going to take it.
That's true. It's kind of difficult for anyone to take, yeah.
I think Austria is the best bet.
Yes. They'd just decide to wander off. But even then, Austria would have to leave themselves undefended to Russia, which I don't know if they would do. It's so weird to say you have to leave yourself undefended against Russia to go take Warsaw. But
That's how it happens sometimes.
Yeah.
Anyways, in the meantime, France is getting pummeled, and with an army in Belgium now it's when you start losing Brest and all your other centers pretty quickly.
Yes, and we see that English fleet was indeed for Mid-Atlantic Ocean, which I guess it was diplomatic reasons for building it in Edinburgh.
Yeah, and I mean, if it got France to vacate Belgium, super worth.
Absolutely. I guess we would only be able to tell that with the press. But yeah.
Yep. But let's take a look.
All right. Yeah, winter 1906. Black Sea comes off the board for Russia, so I guess they're committing to the Turkish alliance now. Um, Spain North Coast for France. I guess it makes some sense. Like, it's possible that England and Italy just clash over that forever, right?
Yeah.
Or at least for the immediate future. That army Belgium is really, really painful in the short term, so you kind of need to keep the armies on around and about. And maybe Army Warsaw can pick up something else. Who knows? And then Italy chooses to build Fleet Rome, so very anti-England, which makes sense here, I guess. Yeah. Any other comments?
I just want to talk a little bit about tactics for next turn. Because here's where I'm going to start actually playing differently if I'm playing for 08 versus long term. Because if the game doesn't end in 08 and I'm England here, I'm looking how do I solo this game? Right?
Yeah.
Where are my 18 dots going to be? How do we get to that point? Whereas if this is just ending in 08, I'm going to be looking at tactics in mainland Germany and France to say, can I get Spain, Paris, and Brest or whatever? As opposed to how do I get into Tunis or Warsaw and Moscow. So just wanted to point that out. Like it's the minor change.
Yes. No, I think that's a good thing to point out. It's definitely going to be a big difference. Yeah, that's the thing about timed games. I think untimed games are kind of more fun, but they're completely unfeasible in actual live settings usually. Although maybe Blitz is somewhere where they would be feasible because the game only takes like 2 hours when it goes to 08.
Not even in my experience when playing Blitz games on Web Diplomacy with no limits default, it's so frustrating because a full game, even if you make it to the end, will last between 2 hours and 5 hours. Because sometimes the game just goes until 1925 because people just keep fighting for chaos. And it's just hard to say, oh, can I commit 5 hours to the thing that I might only spend 2 hours on? Like, that's just a huge pain.
Yes. Yeah, that's definitely fair. Oh boy. I remember I played a live Game of the World variant once, which was insane because at one point I was having to put in 30 units and do press in like a 5-minute time span. So it was just like leaving all of them on hold and just ordering the important units around. But that game ended when someone had to go, basically, and said, hey, I need a draw right now, I'm having to leave. And then just people were nice enough to vote for a draw anyway. But people could absolutely have just gone, hey, whatever, if one person goes, I'm carrying on playing, who cares? That person goes into civil disorder, and then you have to play on for another 3 hours.
Yeah, it can be a scary thing, and difficult to plan around.
Yeah. Anyway,
Shall we go to Spring 07?
Indeed, it is a bit of a side. Oh wait, we have to do power rankings.
No, we don't. The power rankings are the same.
Okay, England then Italy. Yeah, England, Italy. I don't think Russia is a psyop anymore. They were in third previously. I think they have at least dropped below Turkey, right?
Yeah, I mean, France taking Munich and Warsaw from them has really put a damper on their day.
Yes, that is true. What about like Russia, Austria, France? What order would you put them in at the bottom?
I don't know. Like, France is above Russia for sure. France is above Austria.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Austria's above France. So that's the order.
Okay, so I've got Turkey, Austria, then France, then Russia. There. I guess it's feasible Turkey would be lower down, but I think just because of how invulnerable they are now, it's
Yep.
Yeah. Technically, if all their neighbors work together, they could lose Bulgaria again, and that's kind of
Yeah, but
all that
like
would happen.
that's not
before
gonna
the end of the
happen.
game. Yeah. Okay, so spring 1907. Let's go. Alright, England finally making the move around mid-Atlantic Ocean and, like, through into North Africa here. They give up Spain temporarily to do it, but it is definitely going to be temporary because they have the guarantee on Spain on the next turn, just by tapping Western Mediterranean. Outside of that, they don't make a lot of progress. Baltic to Livonia. What do you think about that?
Bad.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of that either. And in fact, I'm not a fan of the convoy into Belgium in the first place. I feel like it could just be better going either to Norway or Denmark and then following into an attack on Moscow. This feels like Baltic into Livonia is like a defensive thing against the French moving up, but it's a bit of a weird
Yeah,
one.
but now you're not be able to defend Berlin.
Oh yeah, that's true actually. Oh boy. France has guaranteed Berlin if they just tap Kiel and then put 2 on it. It's not exactly guaranteed because Kiel could cut Munich, but it's dicey. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, this is less good endgame play than I would have expected from the AI.
Yeah, but ultimately doesn't matter. They're gonna get Spain, and the line's been broken at that point, so it's all kind of moot.
Yeah. I should say it's kind of important to note here that Cicero, in an earlier video, I think I talked about Diplodocus, which was Facebook's like incredibly strong gunboat AI that won the gunboat tournament. I think Cicero absolutely has worse tactics than Diplodocus. Probably because most of Cicero is going into sending the press, right? They have to do the same amounts of stuff in 5 minutes, but the gunboat boss is just calculating moves, whereas Cicero is sending a bunch of messages. So we would expect slightly weaker tactics, although here, some things I just don't really understand, like moving into Livonia here. But yeah.
Yep.
Anything else that you want to talk about? Austria manages to take Venice, even.
Yeah, and Austria's supporting Turkey and Romania.
Yeah, actually. So, Austria taking the Russian support and screwing over the Russian at the same time. Oh boy.
Yep.
And damn, Russia actually is just dead here, right? Because they also lose Moscow. Well, actually,
Yep.
they don't lose Moscow because they could just force it back. But then they
They
lose
could, but then
Sevastopol.
they're not able to defend Sevastopol.
Yeah. Man, these fortunes changed fast after they lost Munich. It was very painful. But very cheeky from the Austrian taking the support and stabbing them at the same time.
Yeah.
Uh,
Just so we're clear, technically as Turkey, I don't think you can afford to go after Sev, because the way that Turkey played this turn, they moved Smyrna into Armenia, and Khan did not go into Bulgaria. So you have to cover Bulgaria because Greece and Aegean have 2 on Bulgaria and nothing else to do with their lives.
yes.
So they're going after Bulgaria next turn. So I think technically you got to do that. But whatever.
Yeah, that makes sense. You can't, and the fact you didn't get into Armenia means it's kind of not that easy to mount an attack on Sevastopol anyway. Yeah, I agree. So yeah, and Italy's fleet build here is going to be actually maybe important because they can block Tunis with it, although they still lose Spain. So yeah, it's what it is. What it is. Having Fleet Venice instead of Army Venice really hurting right now because they can't retreat it. But Austria takes it with a fleet as well, so it can't go any further. Anything else?
Nah, let's just go. At this point, I'm not particularly interested anymore because it's kind of like we know who's gonna win.
It's kind of like, yeah, the north of the board is already decided, and the question is just how big is the board top going to be for England? And something about Summer Squares, you don't want that board top. You want that board top to be as small as possible as every other power, because the bigger England gets, the your share like decreases exponentially. So people should really be trying to contest England here, and I guess Italy kind of is, and France kind of is, and everyone else is not really, like, is just fighting their own little war. But it's always going to be a bit hard to gather people from the other side of the board in a 1908 game to stop anything. Let's go ahead to fall 1907. So, yeah, we do see Spain being lost here. England, interestingly, leaves Belgium and doesn't cover. So France could have gotten in there. But they don't go for it. Anything else interesting? England moving back out of Livonia again, I guess because the Frenchman has left Warsaw, so there's no need to stick defensively. They are convoying up to Norway, which is not going to get anywhere in time to be helpful. Well, they can get to St. Petersburg in time for fall 1908, I guess. And Turkey actually does go for their attack on Sevastopol. So you were absolutely right. They needed to defend Bulgaria. And because they don't do what you suggested, they don't gain a supply center here. Italy decides to go for Bulgaria instead. And Austria gets...
Austria? Yeah.
Yeah, Austria got the build.
Does Austria? Yeah, because Austria gained Greece and Venice.
And they've only got one center open to build in.
Yeah, but I mean, end of the game, it doesn't matter how many units you have on the board, it matters how many centers you have.
Yeah, this is a fun little comeback from from Austria. Man. We'll see how much of it they can hold through 1908.
I think a lot.
They will lose Greece, I think, right?
Maybe. Probably.
But yeah, they can't lose Venice. There's nothing there to take it.
Yeah, and if Venice just moves into Apulia, it can go after Naples. Right?
This is true.
So the only way you gotta have to move some units back to cover it, and like Aegean is the natural one, but maybe that's not gonna happen. So I mean, Austria is probably gonna get second place.
Yes.
Like, almost certainly gonna get second place. Actually, wow.
That's kind of amazing. Also, Italy's moves here are really bold, at least in the south. It's like leaving Tunis completely undefended to go to Lyon. I guess you're just betting on Western Mediterranean being attacked every time. And if it's not attacked, you keep Spain, so I guess it breaks even. But yeah, it's an interesting one.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see.
Alright, shall we go ahead to the last year of the game?
Let's do it. Well, builds and then last year, yeah.
Well, yes, okay.
Yeah.
Winter 1907, Army Brest comes off the board for France. I mean, that center was going anyway, I think that's fine.
Yep.
Russia just keeps on Sevastopol. England builds a bunch of armies. They're not going to get anywhere in time, but like, it's Cicero doesn't really know that the game is ending here, so...
The fleets don't do anything anyways, right?
Yeah, it's like, it might as well put down some builds that, you know, you can't really do anything with either.
It doesn't really matter.
Yes, and Austria puts down Army Vienna. They build one when they should have been able to build two, but they could not.
All right.
Right, so let's go ahead to spring 1908. Okay, so interesting things here. Okay, Austria moves full scale on Munich. That's bold again. It's like Austria is going, I will get every supply center I can out at the end of the game. Honestly, I respect that a lot.
I think Rome was the better bet, though.
Yes, I think so too. Well, we know it from hindsight, right? It would have been a guarantee here. But
like, since you're already going after Naples, like, you want to go after both of them. Whatever.
Yeah. Man. But yeah, they've decided to go to Munich instead. Turkey is pushing out into Bulgaria successfully. Italy moving around to corner Greece. So there's a possibility that Austria loses both Serbia and Greece here if Italy and Turkey work together. Although, of course, that would require Italy to just give up Naples. So, it's a.
Yeah,
I think they
but
probably just cover Naples.
Italy might still cut Greece so that Austria loses Serbia.
Yeah, that's possible because they got attacked by Austria in the stage. Um, yeah,
No, but Greece gets to tap Bulgaria. No, no, that doesn't matter. You take from Bulgaria, and then you can still put two on Bulgaria.
yes.
Okay.
Um,
Yep. All right.
yeah.
England gets Brest and Paris. Okay.
Yep. And France just lets them move into both of those. France support holding Gascony, which is,
Sure.
I guess, yeah, it's fine. No, Italy's attack here is kind of weird if you don't expect France to go to Marseille to defend it. Because if you do successfully attack Spain, England just retreats into Marseille, right? Actually, England probably retreats into Portugal because Marseille is not defensible. Um, but yeah, it didn't happen. They didn't get through, so I suppose it doesn't really matter very much. The most interesting thing maybe that happens is France gets into Berlin. Um, England
Yeah.
convoys to Prussia. So,
Yeah. Looking to get two on Warsaw.
yep. And they have the double support hold with Russia, so maybe they have Russia's goodwill right now. Um, yeah, it's worth a shot, I suppose, but it's kind of backfired on them because now they need to spend the time kicking France out of Berlin instead.
Yep. I mean, a sad guess, right? If French had gone to Kiel, they'd be feeling pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Although this is where like the tactics, I think technically they're better off, significantly better off holding in Berlin because even if France ends up in Kiel, you can cover Denmark from North Sea, which won't be doing anything, and then you can probably retake Kiel with like Baltic Sea and Holland or whatever. I think it's just slightly better tactically, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's closer than I thought it was. Whatever. Point it doesn't really matter. They're not going to go +1. It's fine.
Yeah. Uh, shall we move ahead to the final phase?
Yeah. Wait, hold up. Before we do, I think this is a good time. Is it going to be Austria or Turkey in second place?
Ooh, okay, so Austria has, right now, 6 centres. Turkey has 4. They're gonna go, they have a guaranteed 5 in Bulgaria. Turkey may, so Austria is going to, well, it's maybe going to gain Munich, and that's the extent of what they can gain. So they max out at 7, but Italy. Okay, Italy can't. If Italy takes Greece, then Austria takes Naples, so Italy is irrelevant there. Turkey could take Serbia, in which case Austria goes -1, and Turkey goes plus an extra 1 there. So Turkey ends up on 6, Austria ends up on 6, and they tie. So it's either going to be Austria and Turkey tie, or Austria comes out ahead, I think.
I think so. Same.
Yeah.
Let's see it.
Okay. Well, full 1908. Here we go. Oh boy. Okay. So they actually. Turkey takes from Romania instead of Bulgaria, I guess, just to make sure they don't get bounced out of Bulgaria again. Makes sense. And Italy sacrifices Naples just to say screw you to the Austrian on the last turn. So they take Greece as well. And France tries to defend Munich, like, first and foremost. They don't even bother trying to hold Berlin, which was actually possible for them to do here if they'd supported Berlin to Kiel. But it would have been a guess, right? Other things. England tries to take Warsaw. Oh, okay, France used Berlin to save Warsaw, so it's absolutely fair to do that. And it worked. Good guesses from France, honestly, towards the end of this game.
Yep.
Yeah, and Italy goes for Spain with 3 again, while leaving Marseille undefended.
But thankfully, Gascony got knocked out, so was able to retreat and save it.
Yes. Again, these orange arrows mean both of them retreated to the same location, which means they both blew up. So Italy kept it on the final phase there. Um, is there anything you want to point out on this final board, or shall we just move along to the final game state?
Let's go to the final game state.
Okay, right. So there, winter 1908. This is where the game ends. They don't do builds because there's no point if it's where the game ends. So we have England in first with 16 supply centres. Austria and Turkey joint second with 6 each. Then we have Italy with 4, and then Russia and France with 1 supply centre each. France very happy that they held on to Warsaw on that last turn because that was the only one that they end up with. It's a very migratory France. Yeah, so very, very dominant game from Cicero. I think the important thing here was its early game, right? I mean, it's hard to overstate that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was absolutely crushed. And
Yes.
like again, this is one of the best possible results you can get in SOS that isn't solo, because this is one massive center, right? One's power at 16, and then all of the other centers are split out. The next biggest has only 6, so that means Cicero is going to be getting like 2/3 of the points here. It's ridiculous.
Yes, it's a very, very strong score. It should, clarify in summer squares, if you are the leading power, you want your opposition to be as divided as possible. You get much more in the way of points for that. So, yeah, this was a really solid result. I don't have the exact summer squares counts for the scores, but this was Cicero's best game in the tournament. It had like 2 other very strong ones, and there were there were 8 rounds total. You could play in a maximum of 6 of them, and then the best 3 results counted, I think. So it had 2 other quite strong ones, and then 3 that were kind of just like survivals/eliminations. And it managed to pull out the win with the three strong results. Actually, the Austrian player here was the one who came closest to dethroning it at the very end. Had a very similar final score in the tournament. So,
Yeah, I just ran the numbers. This is a 75%
oh
result
boy.
from Cicero.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, so they
it's
take
even more
75% of
ridiculous.
the solo value from this.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
impressive.
that's phenomenal.
Yeah. So I guess we'll finish this up here. This has been BlitzCon Round 1. I'll leave a link to the game in the description and to the released press from between Cicero and Germany and Cicero and Austria, I think were the 2. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one.